So AI is going to take over the world, but is it going to take my job? Is using Chat GPT going to help or actually harm your progress? People are now using Chat GPT for everything under the sun. So in today's video, I'm going to give you my opinion on whether it can actually replace language teachers and how you can use the free tool to learn Portuguese faster, keeping yourself both entertained and interested during the journey. So it will come as a surprise to no one that my answer is no. I don't think AI and Chat GPT can replace language teachers just yet, especially not when it comes to European Portuguese anyway. For other languages, and especially English, AI has become really advanced and you can have full-blown conversations with robots and translate languages really well. But here's the catch. European and Brazilian Portuguese are still quite conflated when you are using something like Chat GPT. Let's take a look using my app. Hi, could you act like a Portuguese teacher and only speak to me in Portuguese as it's spoken in Portugal?
Claro que sim. Vamos falar apenas em português europeu. Como queres começar? Tens alguma dúvida? Ou queres praticar conversação?
So that wasn't bad at all, but to me that accent was really a lot more Brazilian, even though it was using the European Portuguese grammar. I've covered the differences between these two extensively on the channel and I will link them in the description below. But essentially what you need to know is, although they are the same language, they have significant differences when it comes to pronunciation, grammar and vocabulary. So in our experience, even when we specify that we're looking for answers in European Portuguese, we do still get Brazilian Portuguese back sometimes. So that is the first reason. Even when we fiddled with the settings, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's not consistent. So with that in mind, I would say you shouldn't replace your language teacher with AI, but you can use it to help you with your self-study. In fact, I recommend that. It's kind of like a side dish to complement your main course, and this can be really fun. So here are some of the ways that my students have been using it. So the first student to start playing around with this was Johan, and here is what he said to ChatGPT. You are to play the role of my good-natured Portuguese instructor, brackets European. You're to follow these rules. Number 1, you'll present me a complete sentence in English for me to translate into Portuguese. The language level should be B1. I will attempt to translate the sentences into Portuguese, and after my attempt, you will correct my translation as needed, and you will explain these corrections in Portuguese. So I thought this was a really good way of using it, because also he could get the translations that he was actually doing checked with us afterwards, so he could make sure that he was learning the correct answers. So I think this is a really fun thing that you could do by yourself at home. Another great idea from my student Math, they had a particular sound that they wanted to practice, which was sh. So they asked ChatGPT to actually give them some tongue twisters using this sound. So this is what they said. Been having fun with these all day. You can drop them into Google Translate or DeepL to get some guidance on translations as well. So for example, o Chico chegou cheio de chocolate, cheios de chá. That was pretty tricky to say. Another idea from Diane was asking ChatGPT to give her song recommendations so that then they could actually work with chunks of the song to train her grammar as well. So I really loved this idea, and I also loved that Diane spotted that even though she'd asked for a European Portuguese song, it still gave her a Brazilian one. So she said, I'm feeling pretty smug because as a high school librarian, I'm always trying to get my students to realize that you just can't take AI for gospel. So yeah, that's another win as well. Another question I get asked is, can it help correct your pronunciation? And again, I would say not yet, because it is so mixed up between the two. I don't think it's going to give you a consistent correction there. So my free pronunciation guide is available for download in the description. That is a really good place to start. You can also check out this video here where I give you some more options of how you can practice your pronunciation by yourself with the computer. So a few more ideas could be, if you are stuck on a particular grammar point, which let's face it, we all are quite often, you could ask, for example, give me 20 sentences in Portuguese that use the prepositions por and para, if that's what you're working on that week. You can even make it generate worksheets for you, like my student Penelope did. She asked it this question and then said, now leave out por and para so I can fill in the gaps as if it were a worksheet. You can then feed it your answers and ask, how did I do? Please give me my corrections. Or you can simply go ahead and try having a whole conversation. Again, I would recommend doing this by text still at the moment, but hopefully as the technology improves, it will be much easier to do this with a spoken word as well. So as you can see, there are lots of fun ways that you can use Chat GPT to complement your language learning. But please, please, please do not expect it to do the work of a real human, especially when that comes to accuracy and of course personality. I want you to remember that you want to learn Portuguese so that you can communicate with people. And I'm really worried about people opting to use a robot instead of a real human to practice. You need the eye contact, the body language, and the interpersonal skills to use Portuguese in the real world. So that's what you should be doing in your practice sessions as well. Anything that avoids this, I think, is going to hold you back in the long term. And it is obviously much less scary to talk to a robot or a computer. And I really think you need that experience of being put on the spot and trying to get the Portuguese out of your head and out through your mouth. That is a really important practice that you mustn't avoid. That's why for my students, we have a milestone program, and the final one in the program is to hold a 10-minute conversation with a native speaker. So when they're halfway through the course, I encourage them to find a language learning partner. That's somebody who wants to learn their native language and they can swap skills. And this is really where they start to blossom. It's very, very scary to do it for the first few times, and people are always like, I'm not ready, I couldn't possibly do it. But once they start, that's when their Portuguese really starts improving. So don't let AI take that opportunity from you. My student Diane, who I interviewed on the channel last week, she actually said this. She had been using bots to practice with, but once she found her language learning partner who was around the same age as her, she feels so much better and more excited about her practice because she's actually made a friend as well in the process. I'll link her full interview about her experience learning with me down below. I think it will be very inspirational for you to check out. So if you give any of these ideas a go, let us know how it goes in the comments, or maybe you've got some other ideas on how to use AI for language learning. Leave us a message and we will love to share them with our community. If you are just getting started and need more self-study strategies, things that you can do at home to improve your Portuguese, my free taster lesson for beginners is linked in the description and it has lots and lots of ideas. So if you're just getting started, that is a great place to go next. I'll be back next week with more tips and tutorial to help you improve your confidence and conversation skills in Portuguese. So I will see you then. Ciao for now.